Hi there, this is Solitaire Ronin from Solitaire Ronin Films, and welcome to our random review. Today's random review comes from 1955, and it's Storm Fear. Keep wanting to call it Stormfront. Storm Fear, produced and directed by Cornel Wilde, who's probably more famous for directing Naked Prey. He directed a few films. And this stars Cornel Wilde, Gene Wallace, Dan Duryea, but there's also some interesting casting. Stephen Hill, which again is a name you might not recognise, because I certainly did, but you'll recognise the face because he's still working in Hollywood now as one of those supporting character actor types. A very young Dennis Weaver. So this was 1955, so this is 3 years before Touch of Evil as Norman Bates. I mean, a kind of odd motel owner. And Lee Grant. Now you do have to do a few double takes for Lee Grant because she plays a platinum blonde in this. This was only 4 years into her career, and I don't think I've ever seen Lee Grant as a platinum blonde apart from this film, so you do have to do kind of double takes, but it is actually Lee Grant. But the kind of biggest double take is the fact that the story is about a bank robber and a couple of associates that turn up in his brother's house in the middle of nowhere during a snowstorm, causing havoc and sexual tension and all manner of things. But the bank robber is not Dan Duryea. Now, obviously, if I told you it's a film about a bank robber, you'd automatically go, Dan Duryea is going to be the bank robber. But no, Cornel Wilde is the bank robber. Dan Duryea plays his brother, who is a writer, but somewhat of a struggling writer, who is sick. And that's why they have this cabin or house out in the middle of nowhere on the side of a mountain, so he can get well and write another successful book. So you do have to, there's a bit of an adjustment that Dan Duryea is not playing a psychopath or a slimeball or a scumbag. It's kind of interesting casting. I can't actually remember a film off the top of my head where Dan Duryea plays somebody normal. But there are kind of complications when these three people arrive. Stephen Hill is the young, kind of trigger happy member of the gang who have stolen $85,000 and killed a police officer. Lee Grant is your typical moll who loves her mink coat. As she says, she's taken 10 years to get that mink coat. And Cornel Wilde is the leader who is prone to bouts of violence himself, but he kind of makes a plea that, you know, he's just had a hard life and he never got the opportunities, and every time he tried to go straight, corrupt police officers would end up trying to extort him, and he'd end up being on the wrong side of the law. So it's kind of not his fault, but he didn't kill the cop. Now the relationship between Gene Wallace and Dan Duryea is kind of interesting, because she also has a previous relationship or thing going on with Cornel Wilde, who's Dan Duryea's brother, and their child, their son, who takes a liking to Uncle Charlie, Cornel Wilde's character, Obviously he has a gun, so that's all very exciting, and he asks him whether he's ever shot it. But you have Dennis Weaver, who is kind of the local handyman, who has a thing for Jean Wallace as well. He doesn't like her, or seeing her kind of in this marriage with Dan Duryea, which is passionless. Was it an arranged marriage? He could be a good father to the little boy. So you have that tension going on, and also the trigger happy punk played by Stephen Hill. He takes a shine to not a Shining, that's a completely different film. He takes a shine to Jean Wallace as well. So there's a lot going on in this little cabin as they're hiding out from the cops. Obviously this is kind of a little bit like Desperate Hours or Key Largo. Obviously in Key Largo with Bogart and Robinson there was a tropical storm. This is a snowstorm which kind of prevents the hoods from leaving. We get lots of wonderful character stuff. Some little home truths come out about members of the family and what actually went on. There's some nice action, some nice scenery, and it's just a wonderful little film. Again, only 88 minutes long. This is the Kino Lorber Region A, as I say, part of the Volume 1, The Dark Side of Cinema. No extras on these discs, just the box set. But these films are just so enjoyable if you like that kind of thing. So this is a fascinating little film in the sense of people who were much more recognisable later. As I say, Lee Grant is like... Is that Lee Grant? It's a very young blonde Lee Grant. And an interesting casting choice of Duryea as the sickly writer as opposed to the armed robber. You could argue it would have been interesting to see Duryea doing what he does best as the threatening robber, but I guess Cornel Wilde produced and directed it, so he probably wanted the better part, I suppose. Jean Wallace is very good as the mother and wife trying to hold it all together. She's assailed on all sides, trying to protect her son from pretty much falling in love with Uncle Charlie and wanting to go away with him because it's much more exciting as opposed to being trapped in this house with his mother and his father, Dan Duryea. It's just a lovely little film. Another interesting one set in the snow. It reminds you a little bit of On Dangerous Ground, the wonderful Ida Lupino, Robert Ryan, Nicholas Ray film. And again, it is those normal people trapped in a situation with gangsters or bank robbers. It's a lot of fun. You can do a lot worse for 88 minutes than watch Storm Fear, because it does hit like a thunderbolt, apparently. So thanks very much for watching this random review from 1955. If you've seen it, please let me know what you think of it, and hopefully you'll join me again for more random reviews. This is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, saying farewell.